So today the court has handed down its decision, of course, that the application by the police to try to make our protest tomorrow unauthorised has been rejected. This is obviously a huge victory for the Palestine movement in this country. It means that tomorrow we will be having an absolutely massive march for humanity over the Sydney Harbour Bridge. This is going to be a historic day. This will go down, I think, as one of those moments in history when the people of the world, and in our case the people of Sydney and New South Wales, stood up to be on the right side of history. There is going to come a day in everyone's lives when you are going to be asked the question, what did you do to stop the genocide in Gaza? What did you do to stop it? Well, everyone who comes to that protest tomorrow and everyone who's been part of that movement and everyone who joins our movement now can say that they stood on the right side of history and they did everything in their power to stop the horrific scenes in Gaza, the deliberate mass starvation of 2 million people. This victory today is a result, of course, of our amazing legal team, and we thank them immensely. The tireless work of our barristers, particularly Felicity Graham, Mahmoud Hawila, Amanda Espienza, and our solicitors, O'Brien solicitors. We thank them from the bottom of our hearts. But the victory really belongs to the people as well. This victory has been won through people power. This victory has been won.
Actually, I would like to speak.
Sorry, ma'am.
No, please.
I have the right to speak.
Ma'am.
You do. Can we just to this gentleman right now?
We'll give you time after. Thank you. Right to speak.
Yes,
because he's actually misleading us right now.
This victory has been won through people power. That is what the court found, that the overwhelming support for this.
But he's breaching the process.
Can we will talk
This
to you.
overwhelming support that has been shown for the March for Humanity taking place tomorrow is why we've won this judgment in the court, and it's why the authorities have been unable to stop this mass march. As we said, this is an unstoppable tidal wave of humanity that is going to take place tomorrow in Sydney across our harbour bridge to demand an end to this genocide, to demand our government stop sending weapons to Israel, to demand sanctions on Israel, and to send a message to Israel to stop this genocide, and to the people of Gaza that we are with them, that we are standing up to save you and to stop these massacres and this starvation.
The judge made a point. Can I just
We're going to
wait,
take
please?
questions at the end.
Oh, sure. You want?
Yeah, so my name is Amal Naser, AMAL-NASER. I'm also one of the organisers at Palestine Action Group. So this is a historic moment. Thousands of people will be blocking the Harbour Bridge tomorrow and demanding the end to the starvation in Gaza, and demanding that the Australian government uphold international law. I'm a Palestinian. My family are refugees. I have family in Gaza who are messaging us and telling us that they are currently being forcibly starved and they cannot feed their own children. 40,000 babies are at imminent risk of death because no baby formula is entering the strip. And that is why people across this country will be marching in what we think will be the largest anti-war march in Australia's history, to demonstrate that the people in this country will not stand idly by and watch on as a genocide takes place and the Israeli government seeks to eradicate an entire population.
The judge made a real point in there in saying you've run many rallies and protests and they've been largely peaceful. She has great faith in you having marshals. Can you tell us what sort of rally this will be tomorrow? Will it be a peaceful, family-friendly rally?
Yeah, absolutely, and we really welcome those comments from the court today, emphasising that fact that we have held nearly 2 years of protest, and in fact years before that as well, of very successful, peaceful, family-friendly, welcoming gatherings. You know, she spoke about, and what we talked about in the court is how these are, our protests are often led by kids, leading the chants. You know, we have everyone from different backgrounds at our protests. We've made very clear our opposition to all forms of racism in our demonstrations, and that is crucial because we're trying to build a mass movement of everyone who wants to stop this genocide. So that's what is going to happen tomorrow. Everyone should feel absolutely welcome to be part of a safe, massive demonstration of humanity. I've already contacted the police obviously we've been trying to negotiate with the police this whole time to work out all of the planning that needs to be done. We have many plans in place. We're going to have heaps of marshals, medics, all the rest of it. That's all happening. We have, as we said, mass support from organisations who are going to help us with that as well, including the union movement. So yeah, everyone can feel very confident to come out tomorrow in huge numbers. To be part of history and trying to stop this genocide.
Do you believe the New South Wales Police were pressured?
Are you going to shut down the whole bridge or just
The whole bridge for 3 hours.
How will it?
Sorry, sir. Yeah, can you just sort of describe how it's going to work for everyone?
We've said from the beginning that we think at least a lane for emergency vehicles can be kept open. But the police and transport have said to us that yes, the whole bridge in terms of car traffic will have to be stopped to safely facilitate the march across the bridge tomorrow, as has happened in previous times when these kinds of marches have happened.
Josh, do you have a plan B if you lost this morning?
We did, yes, but thankfully we're not in that position.
Can you tell us about what
I don't think that's relevant at this point because of what's happened. Yeah.
There's a bit of we're worried about safety. How are you going to feel if tomorrow someone gets hurt?
I just think it's a ridiculous question. The reality is the court has authorised this march. These events happen all the time. If the police sat with us, they've had our call for 8 days, they had sufficient time to plan. They've decided to take us to court instead and waste their time and resources and taxpayer money on their legal fight. The reality is there are people who are currently being hurt and they are in Gaza. Children are being starved, living children look like corpses, and tens of thousands of people have been massacred by the state of Israel over the past 2 years. So the only people I'm concerned about being hurt are the people in Gaza.
You guys were here in court last October 24. Do you think there was pressure on the police to try and stop these events or lobbyists?
I think clearly Chris Minns has set the tone here, and the police have done what Chris Minns said, and that's why we said from the beginning that Chris Minns has been the problem here. He should have gotten out of the way of this march for humanity. What can we say? We're glad that his efforts to ban this protest have failed, as they have previously, and we wish Minns would stop getting in the way of people trying to express their views in our masses to stop this genocide. We've also called in recent weeks that the new rounds of ever-increasing anti-protest laws that Minns has been passing through Parliament need to be repealed. And this is another example of a government trying to get in the way of people expressing their democratic will. But what we're going to see tomorrow is a mass, peaceful, democratic march expressing the will of the people of Sydney and New South Wales and Australia to stop the genocide.
There have been other marches on the bridge, but none, as far as I can tell, relating to war. What does that say about the significance of this march in the context of those previous events and what it says about your actions?
Absolutely, I think it demonstrates that the reason why we fundamentally won this court case was because so many Australian people mobilised and got behind us. This was one for people power. What it demonstrates tomorrow when we take the march on the bridge is that the Australian people are fundamentally opposed to war, they're fundamentally opposed to genocide, and most importantly, they're outraged by the Australian government's facilitation of this genocide. We continue to arm Israel, we continue to hold the Australian ambassador in this country, and we have not issued one meaningful sanction on the state of Israel. People are outraged. We are seeing the images coming out of Gaza, and enough is enough, and we want the Australian government to take meaningful action to end this.
What about the symbolism of the bridge?
Well, that's exactly it. We're taking on the Harbour Bridge. This is probably one of the biggest landmarks in Australia, and the fact that this is being taken on, the fact that tens of thousands, potentially even more, Australian people will be marching on it, demonstrates that the Australian people are against this genocide, and we are sick and tired of our government falling to the will of foreign countries, of US foreign policy, of Israeli foreign policy, but rather that their foreign policy should be determined by us, the people who are taking on Australia's biggest landmark tomorrow to call for an end of this genocide.
Last time you guys spoke, there was an invitation sent to the Premier and the PM to attend the march tomorrow. Is that invitation still standing?
Absolutely still standing. The Prime Minister has gone out this week and said the actions of Israel is indefensible. If he genuinely thinks that's the case, and if he genuinely wants to take meaningful action, we invite him to come and march with the Australian people tomorrow. We invite him to come and hear the concerns from the Australian people and hear our demands. He said earlier this week that Sanction Israel is just a slogan. It is not just a slogan, it's an imperative diplomatic action that must be taken to end the genocide in Gaza.
And do you think the Premier's comments coming out pretty early against this has only meant that this march is going to be much larger than initially planned?
Every time the Premier or the Prime Minister or the police have come out and opposed our rallies have quadrupled in size. It has only mobilised the people who are so angry that our government is standing on the wrong side of history.
We know that at the heart of this is Gaza, obviously, but then in there we also heard it's about a freedom of speech battle. Do you think a lot of people have latched onto that?
Absolutely. As we've mentioned numerous times, New South Wales has one of the most, I would actually say, fascist anti-protest regimes in the country. We have passed the most anti-protest laws in comparison to any other jurisdiction, and I think there was a human rights report recently that said we're ranked one of the worst states when it comes to protest in the world. People are realising that this government does not allow us to protest if it is against their interest and if it is against what they believe in. This is not just about Palestine tomorrow, this is about Indigenous rights, this is about climate change, this is about the right for a fair wage. These are protests that have taken place over the past 2 years, which have continuously been shut down by the New South Wales government.
Now that you've set a legal precedent with the bridge, have you thought about how you might use it in the future for any more marches or rallies?
No. But I think what's interesting is that one of the first anti-protest laws that came in was in relation to marches on the Harbour Bridge. So it's great that we're setting a precedent tomorrow. The hundreds of thousands can march the bridge and can shut it down.
Just a logistics thing. How long should Sydney-siders expect the bridge to be closed tomorrow?
We expect the march over the bridge, actual marching over the bridge, to take around 3 hours. So it's going to be a big crowd, and that means we expect the bridge will have to be closed, roughly an hour each side of that. So that's what people can expect. Tomorrow, obviously, as I said, we're in touch with the police, and we'll have to work with transport. At the end of the day, it'll be up to them to make those exact decisions. Obviously, we're not the ones who will be shutting it down, except with people, but they'll be doing all of that work, that logistical work, to make sure that happens safely.
Have you spoken to police since this decision?
Yes, I've just called them on the way up here.
So what was the response from them?
They're calling me back.
You haven't actually said.
I spoke to them, but we're arranging to speak properly to start. We've started planning everything, but to start planning things with them, which they should have done 7 days ago.
Could they appeal this decision? No.
I'm not sure. They might try, but I don't like their chances.
And you're not changing the day at all now. The judge mentioned the day may change, but it's definitely tomorrow.
Well, yeah, we won this case, saying that we can go ahead tomorrow.
Yes, thank you. Oh, sorry. Sue Higginson, Greens MP and spokesperson for Justice. Today, the court has made it very clear that the freedom to assemble and protest is a freedom that really cannot be infringed upon lightly by police here in New South Wales. All members of the New South Wales public today should feel very pleased with this outcome. The right to protest is so important, and tomorrow not only will our iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge be on display to the world, so will our humanity, and that's what this was always about. I think it is really important now that we send a strong message to the Premier of New South Wales. He has had a whole week to back the wishes of the people. He's wasted that time. He has sent a wrong message to New South Wales that we are a state that doesn't tolerate the right to assemble and express our humanity as a people together, as the world is watching in despair on the atrocities that are happening in the Gaza Strip in real time. So I think it's time that the Premier, like the Lord Mayor of Sydney and so many other members of the New South Wales Parliament, have come out loud and proud that this is the fabric of the New South Wales democracy that we live in. It is live and well, and the Supreme Court has made that very clear. I absolutely commend the organisers of this protest, and it was very clear in the court yesterday that the evidence put forward is this is a movement of peace and for peace. And that was resounding yesterday in the court. The court has heard that, and all efforts of the police, their evidence was not strong that this was a risk to public safety. But what was clear is they have floundered a week of preparedness and preparation, and we know preparation is key to these events. But tomorrow it will go ahead. Our spectacular Sydney Harbour Bridge will be on the world stage, but so will our humanity. And right now, any person in power that seeks to rationalise what is happening in Gaza is an enemy of that humanity. And tomorrow we will march for humanity, and today is a resounding win for our democracy and our humanity. I also think that it is time that the New South Wales Parliament all look in earnest at the anti-protest laws that are on our books, because they are clearly in conflict with the way the court interprets the people's rights to assemble and protest and their fundamental constitutional right to the freedom of political communication.
And although this assembly has been rapid, it was approved.
So the way the law works, and it's very, very clear, is if you put in your application, it is in time, it is a valid protest, it is a lawful protest, unless the police obtain an order by the court declaring it otherwise. And the police have failed on this occasion on the basis of the evidence that was before the court. You can't fabricate oppression. It was clear yesterday in the court that that's all the police had. And that's unsurprising when you have a Premier come out on the Monday morning saying, we won't tolerate this, we don't want it, not in any circumstances.
Good morning everyone, Stephen Lawrence MLC. I'm one of the 5 Labor MPs who signed a statement in support of the protest, and I wanted to attend this morning, I suppose, as a representative of all those members of the Labor Party across New South Wales, all those trade unionists across New South Wales who support this event occurring tomorrow, and will be very, very happy indeed about this decision of the court this morning. It's a really important decision in a number of legal aspects, but I think the most important thing about this decision is that it means the event tomorrow can occur in a safe way. The court had a complex range of matters to balance. Underlying it all was that this protest was proceeding, and the court really had the choice about whether to allow it to occur in a safe way or a chaotic way. The decision of the Supreme Court, I think, highlights the critical importance of police making operational decisions, police exercising those really important powers under law as to protests in an independent way. If all those things occur, then the people of New South Wales, when they exercise their right to protest, stand to be protected by the law. And therefore, I'll just conclude by saying that I'm very happy indeed about the decision. I think it's a very significant decision for the right to protest, and a very significant decision allowing the people of New South Wales and Sydney particularly to influence events that occur in Gaza. Australia is a critical ally of Israel. Those who think that we can't make a difference are wrong, and the people of Australia are increasingly speaking in increasing numbers of the importance of our governments taking the strongest stand possible on what is occurring in Gaza.
Do you still think it was wrong for the Premier to have his say on this matter in the Supreme Court?
Look, my view is it would have been preferable, and I've expressed this view a number of times, if the Premier, when asked about the bridge issue, because he was inevitably going to be asked about it, if he had simply said, look, it's an operational police matter, and I'll leave it to the police to make a decision according to law. Look, I'm very confident in our police force. I think they've done a very good job since October 7 in the CBD in handling these protests. That includes the events of the 9th of October, in respect of which they have come under a lot of self-serving criticism from a lot of politicians who don't want to engage with the facts. The police had no choice but to do what they did on the 9th of October. Police need to be given space to make operational decisions. Anything that undermines the perception alone of police independence is a harmful thing to do.
What impact does this verdict have on his leadership?
Oh, look, I don't think it's relevant to that.
Should he stand side by side his Labor colleagues tomorrow?
Look, I think it would be an incredible gesture if the Premier chose to join this protest. I think it would be an incredible gesture if more members of State Parliament joined this event. This event is about one thing, our common humanity. We cannot, at such a critical time, stand on the sidelines of life.
Josh, do you have any idea, because I know there's been estimates up to 50,000 50,000 people. Do you have any idea now how many you're actually expecting to turn out tomorrow?
I think it will be at least 50,000 people. With this judgment, it could be more. And that is a wonderful thing. We want to see as many people as possible turn out tomorrow. I mean, one of the things in the other side's argument was this idea that if a protest gets bigger than what you expected, that should be a basis that it should be banned. I mean, that is a fundamentally undemocratic argument. I would say quite the opposite. It's the very fact that this is a massive march that's happening tomorrow is exactly why it should be and has been allowed to take part, because this is expressing, as I said, the democratic, the popular will of the people of Sydney to march over our bridge. Let's not forget, this bridge belongs to us, to march over it, to demand humanity, to demand an end to this genocide, and to demand our governments, both the New South Wales government of Chris Minns and the federal government of Albanese, stop their support for Israel at a time of genocide and ethnic cleansing. And I'll just make a side note that Albanese is now talking about maybe one day possibly recognising Palestinian statehood, which would bring him into line with the majority of countries in the world who did that long ago. But it begs the question, how can you recognise a Palestinian state while sending weapons to the state that is obliterating the Palestinian people, wiping them out, aims to completely wipe them out from the Gaza Strip, and then, let's not be naive, they plan to do the same to the West Bank if they get away with what they're doing in Gaza. So it makes a mockery of any idea of Palestinian statehood unless we see sanctions, action, real action. We talk about sanctions. The other issue is Gaza is starving right now. We have heroes trying to sail on their own flotilla boats to bring aid to Gaza. Why is Australia, why is it Canada, why are all these countries not sending their navies laden with food to Gaza? Let's see if Israel would stop them. They would be unable to stop them. This starvation and genocide could be stopped by the world if they wanted to. They are choosing not to, and outrageously they are continuing to back Israel. So yes, we would welcome the Premier and the Prime Minister to march with us tomorrow. If they come, we hope that means they've changed their position on a few questions. If not, we'll be having some polite conversations with them on the day about why they should do that, and they will be definitely hearing the will of the people. Yes, I don't expect them to come.
Sue, do you think Chris Minns should open an office in Tel Aviv?
That's probably not something I have a view on at this point.
All right, everyone, we might leave it there. Actually, just one final thing I'd like to say, which is just to reiterate, tomorrow is a chance for everyone in Sydney, in New South Wales, in Australia, if they want to come. I know people are booking flights right now to participate in a historic mass march for humanity to stop the genocide in Gaza. We aim to see everyone there for a massive, peaceful demonstration starting 1 o'clock at Lang Park near the city. Of course, we'll be filling up the streets around there as well and marching across the bridge tomorrow to stop this genocide. Please be there. See you all there tomorrow.
Not to mention other.
Alright, so media just wants to get some shots of them without the protesters in the background, but
Last year, 2 years ago. Exactly.
That's all right. Thank you.